You might be listening to this episode anytime, but I'm dropping it here initially just a few weeks before the holidays when most of us take some break. And I really wanted people to go into the holidays practicing the all-important leadership practice of reflection and recovery. So as I was thinking about what to make this episode about, I got some really great inspiration from an emerging leaders forum that I joined just last week. They said to me, Jamie, please give us your insights in terms of how you managed your work-life balance as a busy executive. And I sort of smiled because I've gotten this question a lot and I've reflected on it a lot. Those of you who know me know that I like to walk and come from a place of empowerment and self-control. So when I hear that question, tell us about work-life balance, I like to flip the script a little bit, change it, and I think to myself, actually, what have I decided to do? You see, the issue is not necessarily balance, although I completely understand that juggling things is really difficult sometimes. But I think the bigger issue is that a lot of us aren't at peace or have clarity with what we've decided to do, and that shows up as a constant work-life balance issue. In other words, I truly believe everything is possible, maybe not all at once though. So let me tell you a story of when this came to light for me earlier in my career in kind of a painful way. So I was on the rise in my company. My career was exploding. I kept getting tapped to take on new responsibilities. At the time, I was living in Charleston, South Carolina, as I am today. And every time somebody in the organization would say to me, would you be willing to move to a different location? I would say, for the right role, I'd be willing to move. That was my pat answer. I didn't really think about it heavily. I just sort of said that. Well, one day, the senior leader of the US business came to me and said, Jamie, I have a great opportunity for you. I would like you to be my business manager for the next 2 years, travel with me around the world, learn from me, and then we'll have a great new job for you after that. Now, those of you who don't know Microsoft, the business manager role for a great leader like this one is extremely powerful. You just learn so much. It's an intense job and a very big honor to be asked for something like that. Well, the only problem was that would require a move to Seattle. I lived in Charleston and I went to my husband and we decided we don't want to move to Seattle. So I went back and I told this leader, I'm sorry, I'm not going to take the job. We don't want to move to Seattle. And you know what he said to me? He said, well, I guess my job isn't the right job then, is it? He threw it right back at me. And you know what? He was right. So with that painful experience, and sometimes we make change based on painful experiences, so in a way, I'm glad I had it. I thought to myself, you know what? My issue is I really need to get clarity. I really need to decide what to do and work with my husband for us to together decide what to do. And so I did this exercise where I wrote down my vital few goals. And here's a couple of them that I'm happy to share with you from a very personal level. On the personal side, I decided I want to be a great mom. I will be a great mom. I also decided I wanted to model my faith in everything I do and that I want to raise my boys in Charleston, South Carolina. My boys were young then. So I was making a multi-year, 10 plus year commitment. Professionally, I wanted to do two things. I wanted to continue to take on big challenges that grew me, and I'd like for that to continue to be at Microsoft. And I wanted to grow others around me as others have helped me. Those are my two big priorities. So this exercise and this clarity moved me into a state of empowerment about how I used my time, about how I communicated my values to those around me, both personally and at work. I'm not saying that the day-to-day juggling ever gets super easy, but the clarity of prioritization really helps. Let me give you a great example. Around my priority of being a great mom, it led me to asking my kids, hey, what's the most important thing to you? You know, I travel a lot sometimes. What's the most important thing to you? And they all told me, Mom, we just love to have you at our soccer games. You know what? That's a priority. I will never miss a soccer game, and I arrange my schedule around those things. Around raising my boys in South Carolina, this enabled me to go into career discussions unapologetic and having really direct career conversations. And you know what? I don't know what I was afraid of, because when I told people that I'd like to continue to grow, I'd like for that to be at Microsoft, but I'm not leaving South Carolina, most people said, okay, Jamie, we'll make an accommodation. Who knew? Being clear on the types of roles that motivated me and where I wanted to grow my career Being able to say, I'd like that to be at Microsoft, but you know what? It's a big world out there. It doesn't have to be. Let me let go of that fear of losing Microsoft. And growing others around me and that priority and how I spent my time deeply thinking about that, frankly, led me to the kind of work that I do today. So if you have been telling yourself, you know what, I think I have a work-life balance problem, I would really encourage you to flip the script. Ask yourself, what are you deciding to do? Figure out what those vital few things are. Prioritize your schedule around them. Tell the people in your lives, both at work and at home, what those things are so they can support you. And maybe most importantly, get after those choices you're making with intensity. One final thought. You may be wanting to go beyond this idea of deciding what to do to explore deeper questions of purpose for your life. While I'm not going to talk about those things today, I'd encourage you to check out Simon Sinek's Find Your Why work. Also, The Ideal Life's I Got This framework. Both pieces of work have been incredibly instrumental and profound for me as I've explored some of these questions. So, a final reflection I want you to have today. Do I need to focus on work-life balance, or is what I really need to work on deciding what to do with clarity? Thanks so much for tuning in today. If this impacted you in a positive way, please give me a like or drop me a comment. I'd love to hear from you. And of course, subscribe to Executive Access to receive all of my content each week. Thanks so much.